The ultimatum and analysis. The observation dome of Harmony Station offered the best view of Earth from orbit, a swirling marble of blue, white, and green that never failed to humble Admiral Sarah Chen. After 30 years of service to the United Earth Defense Force, she still found herself drawn to this spot during times of crisis. Today qualify as the most significant crisis humanity had ever faced. "Admiral, they're approaching the lunar security perimeter," reported Commander Jackson, her aide of 7 years. Sarah nodded, her weathered face remaining calm despite the gravity of the moment. "Maintain protocol. No aggressive scans, no weapons targeting. Let them come." The Galactic Council's envoy ship had appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 days ago, broadcasting its intentions in perfect English, a fact that was troubling in itself. They knew too much about humanity, while humans knew nothing about them. The alien vessel was a marvel of engineering, a teardrop-shaped craft, nearly 2 kilometers long with a surface that shimmered with an opalescent quality that defied traditional material classification. It glided past the lunar defense grid with casual ease, positioning itself in geosynchronous orbit above the United Nations headquarters in Geneva. "They're hailing us," Jackson said, his dark fingers dancing over the holographic interface. Text only. The message was brief. "The Galactic Council requests the presence of Earth's leadership in Geneva in 12 hours. Prepare to discuss tribute arrangements." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Send acknowledgement. Then contact the Secretary General and the coalition governors. Emergency session, highest priority." 6 hours later, the most powerful humans in the solar system gathered in the secure underground complex beneath Geneva. Secretary General Ana Ortiz presided over the assembly of 43 representatives from Earth nations and the 7 colony governors joining via quantum entanglement channels. Dr. Elias Kimal, Earth's leading xenolinguist and cultural anthropologist, stood at the center of the chamber, his holographic displays showing the limited data they had on the Council. "From what we've been able to piece together," Elias explained, "the Galactic Council is a coalition of approximately 27 spacefaring civilizations that governs this sector of the galaxy. They operate on a hierarchical structure with species classified according to their technological development, resource control, and military capabilities." "And where would humans fall in this hierarchy?" asked Governor Mbiki of Mars Colony. Elias grimaced. "Based on their communiques, they consider us a Category 4 civilization, essentially an upstart species that has achieved faster-than-light travel but hasn't fully established itself beyond its home system." Admiral Chen leaned forward. "What exactly do they mean by tribute?" "According to historical patterns of similar imperial structures," Elias replied, "tribute typically means regular payments of resources, technologies, or other valuable commodities in exchange for protection and autonomy." "Protection from what?" Governor Rodriguez of Europa Station scoffed. "The only threat we're facing is them." Secretary General Ortiz raised her hand for silence. "Let's not jump to conclusions. We need more information before we decide how to respond." The room fell silent as the main screen activated, displaying a direct feed from Geneva's Grand Plaza. The Council's representatives had arrived. 3 alien beings stood flanked by what appeared to be ceremonial guards. The central figure was tall and slender with 6 limbs, its body covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with each movement. Beside it stood a bulkier creature with granite-like skin etched with glowing blue symbols, and a smaller entity that seemed almost gaseous, contained within a transparent environmental suit. "I am High Counselor Zixvan of the Galactic Council." The central figure spoke, its voice melodic yet authoritative. "We come with both opportunity and obligation for your species." The conversation that followed was diplomatic in tone, but unmistakably one-sided. The Council's expectations were clear. Earth would provide annual tribute amounting to 30% of its platinum group metals production, 25% of its antimatter reserves, and exclusive access to certain biological compounds found only on Earth. In exchange, humanity would receive protected species status and limited trading rights with Category 3 civilizations. When Secretary-General Ortiz asked about the consequences of refusal, High Counselor Zixpan's response was chilling in its casualness. Non-compliant civilizations find their development restricted. It would be unfortunate if your promising species faced such limitations. The meeting concluded with an expectation for Earth's formal response within 72 hours. As the alien delegation departed, the human leadership reconvened an emergency session. "This is extortion," Admiral Chen stated flatly. "They're demanding resources that are crucial to our expansion plans." "But can we afford to refuse?" asked the Chinese premier. "We have no idea of their military capabilities." Dr. Kamal cleared his throat. "Actually, I noticed something interesting during the exchange. The Council seems to base its hierarchical system entirely on quantifiable metrics: resource control, territorial expansion, energy output. It's an extremely empirical approach to civilization." Professor Maya Lakshmi, who had been quiet until now, suddenly straightened. As head of the Quantum Mathematics Institute in Bangalore, she was typically more comfortable with equations than politics, but her brilliant mind had been working on a different angle. "They're using an outdated calculation model," she said, her voice gaining confidence. "Their demands are precise because they're working from a formula, but I noticed inconsistencies in how they value different resources." She stepped to the central display and brought up a series of complex equations. "If we analyze the proportion of resources they're demanding against standard galactic values, which they helpfully referenced in their background materials, there's a pattern that suggests they're using a linear extrapolation model for civilization development." Secretary-General Ortiz frowned. "What does that mean in practical terms, Professor?" "It means," Maya explained, "that they don't understand how human innovation works. They're calculating our future potential based on standard growth curves, but human history shows we don't develop linearly. We develop exponentially, especially when under pressure." Admiral Chen leaned forward, interest sparking in her eyes. "Are you suggesting we could use their own calculation methods against them?" "Precisely," Maya nodded. "If we can demonstrate that their formula undervalues our potential contribution to the galactic community, we might negotiate from a position of strength rather than weakness." For the next 48 hours, a team of Earth's best mathematicians, economists, and game theorists worked alongside xenobiologists and cultural anthropologists to develop what they called the calculation. It was a comprehensive mathematical model that redefined humanity's value proposition to the Galactic Council. Meanwhile, intelligence teams analyzed every word, gesture, and implication from the Council's representatives, searching for leverage. One discovery proved particularly valuable: subtle tensions between Council members, especially regarding resource distribution. As the deadline approached, Admiral Chen met with Secretary-General Ortiz in the Geneva Compound's garden, a rare moment of tranquility before the storm. "Do you think this will work?" Ortiz asked, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. Chen considered the question carefully. "The professor's calculations are sound. But ultimately, this is about psychology as much as mathematics. We need to make them believe we're more valuable as partners than as subjects. And if they don't believe us..." The Admiral's face hardened. "Then we have contingencies. The Deep Space Fleet is on alert, and a colony evacuation protocols are ready. Humanity won't bow easily, Anna." The Secretary-General nodded, taking one last look at the Earth's sky before heading inside. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." The next morning, Earth's delegation, carefully selected to represent humanity's diversity and expertise, prepared to present their response to the Galactic Council's demands. Professor Lakshmi finalized her calculations while Dr. Kamal coached the team on alien cultural nuances they detected. Admiral Chen, dressed in her formal uniform adorned with the insignia of United Earth, stood before the assembly and delivered a brief message. "We've analyzed the Council's proposal thoroughly and prepared our response. We believe there's been a significant miscalculation in how our civilization's value has been assessed. We're prepared to demonstrate why a partnership model would yield superior outcomes for all parties compared to a tributary relationship. High Counselor Zixvan's color-shifting scales rippled in what the human synopsychologists interpreted as surprise or curiosity. "You have our attention, humans," the counselor replied. "Present your calculations." The response and resolution. The Grand Council chamber in Geneva had been reconfigured overnight to accommodate the alien delegation. Holographic displays hovered throughout the space, ready to present humanity's case. Professor Maya Lakshmi stepped forward, her traditional sari a vibrant contrast to the sterile environment. "Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice steady despite the enormity of the moment, "we appreciate your standardized approach to interspecies relations. As mathematicians ourselves, we respect empirical assessment." With a gesture, she activated the main display, showing a complex three-dimensional model. "However, we believe your calculation method contains a fundamental error when applied to human civilization. You've categorized us as a Class 4 species based on our current resource utilization and territorial expansion, but this fails to account for our adaptive efficiency coefficient." The bulky, granite-skinned alien leaned forward. "Explain this coefficient." Maya smiled. "With pleasure, Counselor Draktor. Human history demonstrates our unique ability to maximize resource utilization under pressure. When faced with limitations, our innovation rate increases exponentially rather than linearly." She displayed historical data showing human technological advancement through major crises, world wars, climate catastrophe, the asteroid mining revolution, illustrating how innovation accelerated during each period. While most species follow this development curve, she indicated a gently rising line. Humanity consistently demonstrates this pattern instead. The second line showed a jagged but dramatically steeper ascent. "Interesting," High Counselor Zixvan remarked, scales shifting to a contemplative blue hue, yet unproven in a galactic context. Admiral Chen stepped forward. "With respect, Counselor, we've prepared a practical demonstration." She nodded to Dr. Elena Volkov, Earth's leading expert in antimatter production. The scientist activated a secondary display showing a real-time feed from the Luna antimatter facility. 3 days ago, when we received your tribute demands, our antimatter production efficiency was at what we call threshold 7. Dr. Volkov explained. Since then, facing the prospect of losing 25% of our reserves, our engineers have implemented a theoretical containment method we hadn't planned to test for another 5 years. The display showed the facility's production metrics, indicating a 43% increase in efficiency. "We achieved this in 3 days," Admiral Chen stated. "Imagine what we could accomplish as partners rather than tributaries." The gaseous council member, identified as Ambassador Gselb of the Mist Collective, pulsed rapidly within its containment suit, a sign of agitation or perhaps excitement. "This validates observations about human adaptability." Selb's translated voice buzzed. "The Mist Collective has advocated for reassessment of emerging species criteria for generations." A subtle tension rippled through the alien delegation, confirming Earth's intelligence about internal council politics. Maya seized the opportunity. "Our full proposal," she continued, bringing up new displays, "demonstrates that a collaborative relationship would yield 320% greater value to the Council over a standard 100-year cycle compared to the tributary model." The mathematics she presented were dazzling. A multidimensional game theory model incorporating resource optimization, technological exchange potentials, and strategic alliance benefits. She had effectively quantified human ingenuity and presented it in terms the Council could understand. High Counselor Zixvan's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a deep purple. "Your calculations are unorthodox but intriguing. However, they rely on unproven assertions about human potential." Perhaps, Secretary General Ortiz interjected smoothly, "but they're supported by empirical historical data. We're simply asking the Council to apply the same rigorous analysis to our adaptive capacity that you apply to resource metrics. Councillor Draktor rumbled something in an untranslated language to Zixvan. The exchange between council members grew more animated, with Selb's containment suit pulsing rapidly as it joined the debate. Admiral Chen watched carefully, noting the shifting dynamics. The council wasn't a monolith after all. There were clearly factions with different perspectives on how to handle emerging civilizations. After several tense minutes, High Councillor Zixvan raised 4 of its 6 limbs in what Dr. Kamal had identified as a gesture of formal address. The Council requires time to verify your calculations and assertions, the Councillor announced. We will reconvene in one of your Earth days. As the alien delegation departed, the human leadership gathered in the adjacent strategy room. They're taking us seriously, Dr. Kamal observed. That's significant in itself. Ambassador Gelb is clearly an ally, Admiral Chen noted, and Councillor Draktor seemed at least open to our arguments. Secretary General Ortiz nodded, but High Councillor Zixvan remained skeptical. What's our next move? Professor Lakshmi smiled. We've planted the seed. Now we demonstrate our value more directly. Over the next 24 hours, humanity executed what they had codenamed Operation Calculated Value. The quantum communication network activated protocols that had been prepared in secret for months, reaching out to specific trading outposts and scientific stations affiliated with the Mist Collective. When the Council reconvened, the human delegation arrived with new allies. Representatives from 3 independent trading consortiums that operated at the fringes of Council space had arrived overnight, eager to testify about their positive experiences with human innovation and trade practices. High Councillor Zixvan's scales rippled with unmistakable surprise. You've been engaging in unauthorized trade beyond your system. Not unauthorized, Admiral Chen corrected politely. Unregulated. There's a distinction. We identified mutual interests with these independent entities and established relationships beneficial to all parties. The leader of the Rixin Trading Consortium, a reptilian being with crystalline growths along its spine, stepped forward. The humans solved our atmospheric degradation crisis with a biological solution that our engineers had deemed impossible. Their adaptive thinking approaches problems differently than traditional council methodologies. Another testimonial came from the Stellar Cartography Guild, whose representative explained how human mathematical approaches had optimized their mapping efficiencies by 22%. Ambassador Gelb's containment suit pulsed with an almost smug rhythm. As the Mist Collective has maintained for 7 council cycles, emerging species bring necessary innovation to stagnating systems. The chamber erupted into multilingual debate, with council members and their aides arguing in at least a dozen languages. Secretary General Ortiz exchanged a glance with Admiral Chen. They had successfully disrupted the council's unified front. Finally, High Councillor Zixvan called for order. It appears, the councillor stated, scales now a thoughtful green gold. That traditional categorization may be insufficient in humanity's case. What followed was 6 hours of intense negotiation. Professor Lakshmi's calculations were scrutinized, challenged, and ultimately validated by the Council's own mathematicians. Earth's delegation stood firm on key points while demonstrating flexibility on others. By evening, a new agreement had taken shape. Earth would not pay tribute as a subject species, but would instead enter a provisional partnership with the Galactic Council. Humanity would share specific innovations, particularly in adaptive engineering and biological solutions, while gaining access to Council knowledge databases and trading networks. Most significantly, Earth would be classified as an adaptive innovation partner, a new designation created specifically to accommodate human civilization's unique development pattern. As the formal documents were prepared, Admiral Chen found herself in a side chamber with High Councillor Zixvan. You calculated our internal divisions well, the alien remarked, its tone impossible to read. Chen maintained a diplomatic smile. We calculated our own value well, Councillor. The divisions within your council were simply relevant variables. Zixthan scales shifted to a color humans had not seen before. I wonder if you realize what you've done today. The ripples will extend far beyond Earth. Change often does, Chen replied. We look forward to riding those waves together, rather than against each other. The counselor made a gesture that Dr. Kamal had translated as indicating reluctant respect. Your species' mathematical models predicted a 78% probability of successful negotiation. What did your models calculate as the probability of our simply destroying your planet if displeased with your response? Admiral Chen met the alien's compound eye steadily. 0%, counselor. Interesting. Why? Because entities capable of building a civilization like yours understand value. Destruction is easy. Creation is difficult. The Galactic Council didn't achieve its position by destroying potential assets. Zixthan's scales rippled in what might have been amusement. Your calculations continue to intrigue, Admiral Chen. I believe our future interactions will be educational for us all. When the final agreement was signed, Secretary General Ortiz addressed the assembled representatives from both Earth and the Council. Today marks not the subjugation of one civilization to another, but the beginning of a partnership based on mutual respect and calculated benefit. Humanity does not come to the galactic community as supplicants, but as innovators with unique perspectives to offer. As the Council's ship prepared to depart, Professor Lakshmi joined Admiral Chen at the observation dome, watching the magnificent vessel rise through Earth's atmosphere. Do you think they realize what really happened today? The mathematician asked. Chen smiled. That we used their own metrics against them. Probably. That we fundamentally changed how they'll approach emerging civilizations in the future. They're beginning to. Lakshmi nodded. The beautiful irony is that our calculations were entirely truthful. Humanity genuinely does perform better in partnership than under duress. Most species probably do, Chen replied. The Council just needed someone to do the math. As the alien ship vanished into the depths of space, humanity looked to the stars with new eyes, not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners in a vast cosmic equation, their value finally calculated correctly.